Hi everyone, Velvet here, and I have some stories for you today. But before we get started, can you please do me a huge favor and like, comment, and subscribe? It'll help the channel out and it'll get you more videos like this. Let's get to it. And our first one is from Linebacker6789. Am I the beehole for not letting my girlfriend keep our apartment? Throwaway account for privacy and TLDR at the bottom. Girlfriend, 29 female, and I, a 31-year-old male, have been together for a little less than 9 years. About 3 months ago, we had a conversation about how much we've grown apart over our relationship, and how we don't really share any common interest anymore. Having had this conversation, we decided that the best thing for us to do was to live together until our lease is up, and then part ways as a couple, ending the relationship. Things are extremely civil between us, and we're just both on the same page. Our landlord requires us to notify her of any changes in the lease in June. Our lease is up at the end of September. This is context for later. For the last few months, I've been talking to a girlfriend about who's going to live in the apartment once the other one leaves. I was under the impression it would always be me, since I make more money than she does, and can afford it more easily. I would drop the comments in our conversation about the decision, and I always got I don't want to talk about it right now, in response. Fast forward to a couple weeks ago. Girlfriend says she wants to keep the apartment instead of me. She states that it's close to her storage unit, and she could swing in if she could swing it if she gets a roommate. Okay, no problem. I start looking for comparable apartments in the area. I'm not sweating it though, because there's plenty of time before the lease is up, and worst comes to worst, I can move in with my parents for a few months as a cushion. In the middle of looking, one day girlfriend comes to me and says she's changed her mind, I can have the apartment, and I'm happy of course, and stop looking. Then, after being away for a weekend with some friends, girlfriend and I are laying in bed. It's 12:15 a.m., the night before we're planning on texting the landlord to let her know what's going on. At the end of the sentence, girlfriend asks, can I stay in the apartment? I tell her of course, she's welcome to stay as long as she needs to find a new place. She says, no, like, can you move out and I stay? I immediately look at her and said, and shut this down immediately. She tells me that she won't change her mind again, and I tell her that's not the issue here. The issue is that she had months to figure this out and has flip-flopped back and forth multiple times within the last few weeks. I continue to hold the boundary of, no, I am staying. I text the landlord the next day telling her as much and agreed to help girlfriend find a new place. Am I the beehole here, or just feeling guilty? TLDR, girlfriend and I are splitting up, and girlfriend wants to keep the apartment after flip-flopping about whether to move out or not to move for over multiple weeks. OP, I'm gonna say you're not the beehole. You've been very accommodating to her. She says she wants the apartment even though you could handle it better, and you said okay, and you started looking for apartments. That's, that's fine. That's the way to do it. I don't blame you for not wanting to fight. And then she comes back, oh, you can have it, and then okay, cool, and then she does it again. I hate that flip-floppy crap. She's had multiple chances. She's had multiple chances to make her decision, and it got to the point where you needed to make the decision for yourself. So I'm with you. Keep the apartment if that's what you want, because this is going to get annoying with her. I looked down in the comments, and I gotta go with Moglin. Not the beehole. She seemed to be grieving the loss of your relationship, and indecisive on whether she can actually fully end things. She doesn't want to lose the security you two have created, and she's putting off the actual decision of ending things in an official legal capacity until the last minute. If this is the case, that's pretty toxic and unhealthy. She's hypothetically dragging out the divorce, when it would be much better for her to cleanly sever things and move on. You are being clear and concise about what you want and how you want to move forward. The person who is indecisive and inconsiderate is usually the one who is the beehole. I would sit her down and ask her, is this really about who gets the apartment or something else? Yeah, I could see that. I agree with you on that. She probably is worried about trying to move on to the next step, but that's her problem, not yours, OP. So, not the beehole. And our next one is from Buckup, Am I the Beehole? Am I the beehole for refusing to attend family events on my wife's side unless she stands up for herself? My wife, a 35-year-old female, and I, a 36-year-old male, have been married for 4 years and have 2 kids, 3 and 1. My wife's parents divorced when she was a teenager, and both her mom and dad have since remarried. There is a lot of competition between her mom and dad, and stepmom in terms of family time. Everything has to be equal, meaning if we spend an afternoon with her mom, then we have to do the same thing with her dad and stepmom. Mom and stepmom especially put a lot of pressure on my wife and guilt trip her about it. My wife has a lot of trouble standing up for herself and saying no. Before we had kids, this wasn't a big of a deal. If we had to attend 2 or 3 different Thanksgivings or Xmas gatherings. Not a huge deal. I mean, it sucked, but it wasn't the end of the world. Now, though, with 2 young kids, it's exhausting, and I absolutely hate it. My wife and I have had numerous talks about her setting up boundaries about this because I'm at the end of my rope with it. The bickering and the pressure and is constant and needs to keep everything equal essentially determines our entire non-work schedule. We had to attend 2 separate Easter events this spring. We're not even religious because we went to one with her mom, so we had to do one with her dad and stepmom. After that, I told my wife I was done with this BS. I told her that she needs to stand up to her parents and start setting boundaries and saying no. I told her I won't allow her parents to continue to dictate how we live our lives. I told her if she is incapable of doing this, then I will absolutely step in and tell them off. But she begged me not to do that because she doesn't want to ruffle feathers and promised she would do better. Of course, that didn't happen. We ended up having to run around 3 separate places on Memorial Weekend because of this same stuff. After we got home from the last stop, I told my wife I am done with this, and now we'll pick and choose which things I want to go to. I won't stop her from going, and I'll stay home with one or both kids if she doesn't want to take them. But I am done. Lo and behold, this past weekend, she was talking to her mom, and the 4th of July came up. My father-in-law had already invited us to his house for a pool party, and my wife told my mom about it. So, of course we had to do something with them that weekend as well. When my wife told me about this, I told her I will not be attending both, and I will choose if I want to go or to attend either. My wife must have vented to her mom about this because a couple days later, I got a call from my wife's stepdad, the only insane person in this really. He told me that he completely agrees with me, and he's talked with his wife numerous times about not pressuring my wife, but she doesn't listen either. He suggested that whenever his wife pressures my wife into keeping things equal, that he and I go golfing together instead. When I told my wife about this idea, she called me a jerk and told me I'm being unsupportive. I do not understand where your wife is getting this unsupportive stuff. You've been extremely supportive going back and forth between her family. What about your family? Do you do things with your family? Does she attend the stuff that you have with your family? Because I didn't hear about that in the story. But it sounds like you're going above and beyond. Heck, even when you want to bow out, you're like, hey, I'll take care of the kids. You go deal with your family. I think that's really generous too, saying, hey, you'll take the kids while she goes off to, have fun with her family. But now she wants to get all uppity when you say, hey, I'm going to go golfing with your dad. Or, yeah, now she wants to get like that. It sounds like she's into that stuff with her, she's like, she enjoys the fighting or something like that between her mom and stepmom and all that, the back and forth. OP, you were not the beehole. I don't blame you. After hearing this story, I feel tired for you, and I'm not even there. But your wife, she needs to grow a backbone and tell him, hey, I'm not attending both, I'm picking one. It's messing with my family, and I gotta handle my family. So OP, no, you're not the beehole. And our next one comes from Hopeful Kangaroo 879. Am I the beehole for ruining 3 girls' exams? We have a very strict and unreasonable professor who just gave us 1 hour to complete our exams, which required us to write code and record our results on paper. None of us finished in time. After exactly 1 hour, the professor demanded that we leave our papers and computers behind and get out of our seats. She then asked us one by one to explain our results. She started with our row. While she was busy with our row, some students went back to their seats and continued working. I told them to stop because it was unfair for those of us who were marked first. Their excuse was, my internet connection is unstable, and my work just got deleted. A few minutes later, the professor warned, don't go back to your seats, I am warning you. After she finished checking my paper, I noticed that some students were still working. I told the professor, isn't it unfair, as some of them continue to work on their exam. The professor got furious and didn't check their papers and told them to retake the exam. They had to pay 1/2 of the credit to retake the exam. But the exams were so hard they probably had to retake it though. My reasoning is, even if their work was deleted due to bad internet connection, they shouldn't have ignored the 2 warnings. Even if their work got deleted, some students couldn't finish the exam in 1 hour. So what could they accomplish with just 5 more minutes? 2 girls next to me couldn't even finish their papers. Why should the others get a few more minutes? Why I think I might be the beehole. Their cheating didn't affect my grades, So maybe I shouldn't have said anything, even if it bothered me? No, P, no, you're not the beehole. Those are the rules of the test. I'd be pissed too if I had to, present my stuff unfinished while people got an extra 5 minutes to try to finish their stuff. And let's be honest, it was 5 minutes to try to finish it. Because what, you're gonna do an hour of work in 5 minutes like you said? There's no way anything got deleted or the internet connection has to do anything with it. They were just trying to get an extra 5 out of it. So P, no, you're not the beehole. Fair must be fair. And our final one comes from Solid Jump 2945. Am I the beehole for telling my brother that he's insufferable and that's why his girlfriend broke up with him? So I, a 25-year-old male, have an older brother, a 29-year-old male, and we've never been close. He claims that I've had the life he was gonna have and that I stole it from him. I don't really get it, as my parents don't have a favorite and have always treated us the same. The only differences between us is that while he was out partying and drinking during the time he was at uni, I, on the other hand, focused on more of my studies and on occasions went out to parties and such. My brother failed most of his classes and eventually dropped out. I, on the other hand, had finished and landed a decent degree and have started at my job recently. This, for some reason, has made my brother absolutely despise me and telling me that I stole his life. At our recent family gathering, my brother and his girlfriend were there, and my brother had so much to drink and started with this BS again. My parents told him to cut it off, but he continued. Apparently he had talked about this non-stop with his girlfriend, and she had enough and broke up with him on the spot. Somehow that's my fault for making him look bad and telling me that he wished I was never born. This is where I might be the beehole. I told my brother that this is why his girlfriend broke up with him, because he's insufferable, and to stop blaming me for his failures. He left cursing me out while crying. My parents said that he had it coming, but some of my extended family said I was too harsh on him. Am I the beehole? Why is it every time in these stories you always have people who go, oh, you were way too harsh on that person that did that horrible thing to you. You should have been nicer. I will never understand that. But OP, no, you're not the beehole. He's had this building up for a while, constantly nagging you, bickering. And I don't blame the girlfriend. I'd get sick of someone being miserable around me all the time too. And you didn't steal anything or take the life he had. OP, you weren't there at college telling him to not study and go out and party and to flunk out. You didn't do anything. He's over here just being jealous because you're succeeding while he's not succeeding. So P, no, not the beehole, and he needed to hear it. He was becoming insufferable. Thank you for making it to the end of the video with me, and can you please do what I said in the beginning, and like, comment, and subscribe. It really and truly does help the channel out, it helps it grow, and it helps to get more videos like this. Velvet out.